this God who's up there comes to us and is represented to us in this person, Jesus. But this Jesus is also a human man, someone born as a baby who grows up and experiences our world and represents the very best of humanity. So he is both God and perfect human. And so as such, he's able to intercede, to be a mediator of humanity to God and God to humanity. The writer to the book of Hebrews talks about how faithful he is in doing this task. I don't know if you've ever had a mediator or a go-between. Sometimes they aren't, particularly, it doesn't always go well. Why am I saying this? Well, today we were going to have a special guest speaker. Scott Pilgrim from Baptist Mission Alliance actually came here at 9 o'clock, but our mediator, who arranged things for us, got the times wrong. And so he's had to shoot off up the coast to his next appointment because he's on his way up to Queensland. And so he said, I've got this other thing I've got to get to. I thought it was at 9 o'clock, but it's at 10:30. What do I do? And I said, mate, just go. Because we got Steve. And so Steve is now going to speak to us like that because he can and he will. So he did all together this morning. So he's just going to adapt what he did with the kids this morning, or the whole congregation, not just the kids. And we'll also have some chat that goes out of that. So thank you for being flexible and adaptable. We put not too much pressure on our pastors, but, he's up for the job. So thank you, and let's hear about this Mission Invisible together.
Good. Thank you, John. Sorry if you were expecting Scott Pilgrim, but I'm actually going to be seeing him this week because I'm heading up to Brisbane with my family, and we're going to the Global Baptist Conference this week. And we're going to have a bit of holiday up there as well. We're going to go to Surfers Paradise in the second week and go to the theme parks. So my boys are looking forward to that. So I won't be here for the next 2 Sundays. But what we're going to do this morning is look at this passage that I looked at with our All Together community this morning as well. It's a bit shorter because what we do at All Together is we do 10 to 15 minutes of teaching, and it's quite interactive. But what I thought this morning was we'll go through this passage because I think it's very relevant for us and is a lot for us to get from it. And then what we might do is just have a little bit of discussion about that within the group here. Maybe we'll turn to one another and discuss some thoughts and share with one another before we're sharing communion together. So that's where we'll go. I want to start there with a riddle. I don't know if you like riddles, so turn to the person next to you and see what you think of this riddle. What is always the same and always changing? Turn to the person next to you and think about that riddle. All right, who's got one? Who's got something that's always the same and always changing? There's multiple answers to this, so yeah. A wife. A wife is always the same and always changing. I think she'd probably say touche. Time. Yep, how's time always the same and always changing? It's constant, always moving forward at the same pace, but it's always a different time. Yep. Water. Water is always the same and different. It changes based on temperature, but it also, the Greek philosopher, I've got his name down here, Heraclitus, said no man ever steps in the same river twice. The river's the same, but it's always changing. The water's always changing. Other ideas? What's always the same and always changing? Your shadow. Same shadow. Always. I love that one. That's a really good one. Yep, mate. Life. Life is always the same. Like you, yourself. You're always the same and you're always changing. Our lives always the same life, but it's always changing. I love the one this morning. Shervin, 5-year-old little Shervin said, birthdays. That's a beautiful one, isn't it? It's always the same birthday, but it's always different when you turn to the next age. That's very, very clever. Well, what I want to say this morning is God's mission is always the same and it's always changing. And what we need to learn to do is to keep up with this. And what I want to show you this morning is a well, I can't get the words out. It's like so big. It's a huge turning point in church history. What happens in this passage, it's in Acts 10, and it happens between a man named Peter and a man named Cornelius. Peter is one of Jesus' closest friends. He was one of Jesus' closest disciples, and he knows him really well. He's a Jewish man, and Jesus has sent Peter on his mission into the world. What Peter knows is that God's mission is for God's people, and God's people, in Peter's mind, are the Jews. It's always been who God has said his people are. And so Peter's got this idea in his mind. Cornelius is a Roman man. He's not Jewish. And there's an interaction that happens between these two. What happens is that Peter has this strange vision. One day he's praying and he has this vision of a sheet coming down from the heavens. And this sheet is packed full of all of these animals that he wasn't allowed to eat. He followed Jewish eating food laws. And there's a whole lot of food that they can eat and a whole lot of food that God said was unclean. But in this vision, God says to Peter, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." And Peter says to God, he says, "No, Lord, I've never eaten anything unclean." And God says to him, "Do not call anything unclean that God has made clean." Peter is completely confused by this because God has always called these things unclean. And now God's saying to him, no, don't call things unclean that I call clean. So he stays confused till a day or two later. Some visitors arrive at his door, at his house. These visitors have been sent by a man named Cornelius. Cornelius was a man who loved God, and Cornelius was praying, and something happened. It was about the same time that Peter had his vision that Cornelius had a vision. And in his vision, God said to Cornelius, "Go and send for Peter and bring him to your house." And so Cornelius is like, okay. He sent people from Caesarea, where he lived, down to Joppa, where Peter was, about 50 k's, 2 days travel probably on foot, maybe a day on horse. Goes down to Peter. They rock up at Peter's door and say, "Peter, Cornelius has sent for you to come to him." Peter's like, "Okay, I'll come." So he goes up and he comes to meet with Cornelius. And when he got to his house, we're told that this is what happens. When Peter entered the house, Cornelius met him, like pretty standard so far. They meet each other. They don't know each other yet, but they get to know each other and get talking. And as he was talking with Cornelius, Peter went inside. Whoa. Why aren't you reacting? Because if the guys that were with Peter, that had come as Jews from Joppa up to Caesarea, at this point, when Peter steps inside Cornelius' house, this is their reaction. "What are you doing? What? Peter has gone inside Cornelius' house. Can you believe it?" Peter, we're told, says this. He went in and he found a large group of people and he said to them, "You know that it is against our law for a Jew to enter a Gentile home." What he has just done is like shocking to the Jews that are with him. A Jew shouldn't have any close contact with a Gentile. He says, "God has shown me that I should not say anyone is not pure and clean. So when you sent for me, I came without asking any questions." And Peter says to Cornelius, "Can I ask why you sent for me? Like, I don't even really know what I'm doing here." And Cornelius is like, I'm not actually sure. Because I also, a few days ago, I had this vision And in the vision, the messenger said to me to go and get you from Joppa. So why do you think you're here? And you've got this kind of very weird situation where Peter's like, I don't know why I'm here, and I don't know why you're here. And then Peter, suddenly it clicks for him. And he began to speak, we're told. He said, I now realize how true it is that God treats everyone the same. He accepts people from every nation. He accepts anyone who has respect for him and does what is right. You know the message God sent to the people of Israel. It is the good news of peace through Jesus Christ, the Messiah. He is Lord of all. And Peter continues to speak. What I read what Peter says there, and just that bit you can see in yellow. He accepts anyone who has respect for God and does what is right. Does that seem strange for you, for Peter to be saying in this context? Here's why it seems strange for me. He says God accepts everyone who has respect for him and who does what is right. But Peter has just gone into a Gentile's house. Does that show respect for God when God says don't have anything to do with the Gentiles in his mind? He has just gone against what he's always believed was respectful to God and was right by God. Who does what is right? His thinking, Peter, as this is happening, is changing about what is respectful to God and what is right by God. His thinking about what he can eat and what he can't eat has just changed. His ideas about who he can associate with and who he can't associate with have changed. This, I think, is the most remarkable thing that happens here, that Peter can listen to something and reconsider. Because what Peter realizes is that God's message and God's inclusion is bigger than what he thought. He says, here's what the message was that he sent to Israel. It's the good news of peace that came through Jesus, the Jewish Messiah, that he's Lord of everything. He's Lord of all. It's not just Lord of the Jews. It's just not Lord of some people, that he's Lord of every peace. It's not just about a lack of conflict. That's part of it. But this good news of peace is about the restoration of wholeness. It's the idea of shalom. It's that everything is restored to its right order. That this is what God is about. And that one group of people should be treated as different to another, as lower than another, is not what God is about. That he's restoring everything to its right order under him as the Lord. And Peter is explaining this to these people. This is how he understands and his fresh revelation of what the good news is. And as he's describing this and explaining this, what they see is that the Holy Spirit comes on this group of people just as it had on Peter and the disciples back at Pentecost. And the Holy Spirit comes on these people. And they see it visibly. They see their eyes open. They see them receive God toward them. And they say to one another, Peter and his friends, his Jewish friends, they're amazed. They're like, the Holy Spirit's been poured out on them just as it had been on us. And these people aren't Jewish. And so Peter says to the people there, do you want to be baptized? Do you want to be immersed into this life of God? Do you want to receive all he has for you and carry him with you? Because we can see that you've received the Holy Spirit just as we have. And so they're baptized and become part of God's mission. Mission here changes for Peter. It changes from being just for the Jews to now realizing that this is for everyone. This is everyone to be included in. Everyone then joined that mission of taking God's love out to the world, to see his peace, his shalom, his wholeness spread across the whole world. We looked at this a few weeks ago in terms of Pentecost. What happened there was the beginning of this mission. And for a long time, people have understood this as what mission is going out from that place to the ends of the world, going far across the world to preach and to serve and to start communities of faith. And that is why we are here, because people come here and spread this news to this part of the world and started this community of faith. This is beautiful and this is right. This is what Jesus said. He said to go and to make disciples of all nations. And many in the church over centuries and centuries have got used to thinking of mission as purely this, something that we send people to do. And we do that as a church here. We send people across to other parts of the world to bring God's good news and start communities there where there are no communities. We still do that. It's a great part of mission. But today, in our context, something different is also happening. The mission field has also come to us. So what happens when the ends of the earth comes to us? People from all over the world have moved here into our neighborhood. God bringing people of the nations to our schools and to our shops and into our streets. They bring new gifts, new stories, new expressions of faith. And just like Peter had this shift in his thinking about what God's mission was and what he should be doing in it, we would do well to continue to have our view of God's mission expand, to realize it's actually bigger than I thought. For most of us, mission will not mean going somewhere else. Here's some ideas of what mission means for us today. Mission will mean carrying Jesus into all that we do. It's to recognize that we have his Spirit and we go out into our day-to-day world. What we're doing is carrying him into that day, to the people that we meet. It means listening to the stories of people that we haven't met before, people maybe who are new here, people who are different to us. Simply listening. Why have you come here? Asking a question and giving them space to talk. Being curious. Being welcoming. Opening up space for people who don't know their place and giving them this as a place for home for them. This is what mission is. It's listening to people who are different to us and learning to love people who are different to us. You might not know where to do that. You're sitting in a room where you've got people who are very, very different to you. Here's a good place to start. We need to learn to do this here and in our community. If we open up that space, we're part of God's mission. And that is the primary mission that God is calling you to. Some of you will also get a call maybe at some point to travel somewhere and do something else. Wonderful. God's doing stuff all over the world. But until he does that, you need to be saying, what is God calling me to in mission here? Where can he open my eyes to be part of what he's doing? Here's the main point of what I'm saying. Mission is not primarily about going somewhere. It is about living in a way that the love of God breaks through wherever we are. And so that's what I want to challenge you with. That's what I want to leave you with. I want you to think in your own context about how to apply that and how we can apply that together here. What I thought we might do is we might just have a little bit of discussion amongst ourselves. And I want to start with that, just turning to people around you. There might be something from what I've shared that has sparked something for you or a question. I do have some discussion starters that are up on the screen, but you might just choose one of those to talk about with the person next to you, or you might have something else come to mind. Don't use that as a guide. Use that as a prompt if you don't have something else to share with the person next to you. So let's just take a few minutes, turn around, say hello if you don't know the person, use your name, and have a bit of a chat. And then we might have a share in the big group together.
Run around.
Going to give you 30 more seconds before we open it up to the group. All right, let's bring it back together. And we'll share as part of the big group some thoughts that came out of that little discussion. Or you can keep talking in your small group if you prefer. Come on, let's bring it back together. I know I'm interrupting. I've already just started. You've started the conversation, but that's the point, to start the conversation here, for you to continue elsewhere. Who has something that it's kind of coming to mind and thought maybe we'll share that with a big group? Might be something that you've thought, or something that someone in your little group has thought of. Something here, Len? Yeah.
This is a piece of history of this church. In 1988, when we came to this building, the church had bought this building and then expanded over there. I was on the diaconate, and we had discovered that there were a lot of Mandarin-speaking people migrating into this area. So a brilliant idea was hatched that I would go once a month down to the council, write down all of the addresses, pre-computer, by the way, it was all handwritten, and find out where we could perhaps deliver some information about the church when people came. And we absolutely dropped the ball. Now, continuing on to more recent history, there was, this is again referring to the Mandarin congregation, there was a female doctor, I think she was an obstetrician and Christian, and she was ministering to a lot of people in the Hornsby area, if my memory serves. And eventually she had so many people who were following the Lord, and she couldn't manage it at home. And one day she turned up here. And that is the start of the Mandarin congregation in this church. And so what I'm saying to you, God sticks with his plan. Truly. So we're very thankful that when we dropped the ball, he did not.
Beautiful.
As we were talking in our group, one of our members came to Australia, went to university, came from overseas, went to university and was converted at university. And our universities we don't want the government to stop overseas students coming. That is a huge field of mission, and people in our My Life group as well who were converted at university in Australia. So pray for the Christian groups at the university. There are a few different groups and support them.
Yep. Richard up the back.
Thanks, John. So Hamid and I were just talking about how God's mission is always the same. It's the same mission today as it was in the Bible, but methods have to change. Because when you're living in Iran, no missionary can go there, no one can preach, but you can receive the message via satellite or from outside electronic sources.
God has a mechanism for changing individuals' mission. It's called aging. But it's not called giving up or not doing anything. It's called changing what you can do, acknowledging that you can no longer, perhaps, as I used to for many years, stand on street corners shouting the gospel at people, or spending a lot of time visiting, but there are different ways, particularly through electronic means of changing. So God has a plan, and aging is part of that.
We've a new ministry thinking about that as well, that's exploring. Winnie, do you want to talk about anything about that? Is that on the spot? I know.
Thank you for the opportunities. So a group of people have been gathered together to think about what we can do for our seniors. So who are seniors? I tried to Google that yesterday. So seniors are defined by people who are kind, compassionate, full of wisdom, patient, and have a lot of life experience that love to share with others. So if you are one of those, very welcome to look at the e-news. We have a jingle brunch coming in by the end of July, which is on Tuesday. Look for the e-news. And our senior group is actually championed by Alice. Alice, stand up. She is like fantastic in organizing different activities and good for us. Okay, just check out. Yeah.
I love that image of it's wherever we go, we take Jesus with us. And in lots of ways, that's really simple, isn't it? All of us want to be open to his presence in our life, and we just share that experience. And that's all we have to do. So really, it's just him living in us, him doing his mission through us. We need to remind ourselves, so that's as simple as it is. Christian experience, Jesus says, he pictures that in John's gospel, it's like feeding on him. eating his flesh and drinking his blood, which just sounds horrifying and ghastly and a bit ghoulish, and it's a dark horror movie. But it's sort of trying to say in drastic terms that his very life becomes our life. That's what I think Jesus is saying. And the church, at Jesus' instruction, has always pictured that, eating and drinking, taking his life into our life. And so we don't take that literally. It's a symbol. This isn't really Jesus' blood or flesh. We don't think there's magic happening here. Some Christians do, but we don't in this place. But it is more than just, oh, there's a picture. It's also an action where we say, yes, I am taking that into myself. I am feeding on him. I am growing his life, or having his life grown in me. And so if you want to say, yeah, that's me too, then we're going to eat and drink together. We're going to share in this communion, this common experience of his life within us, which is a wonderful gift, isn't it? And I think that's what it should make us think about. This God who just gives everything all the time, including his own very life, his own very self. This is the Jesus that we follow. And he says, you know, you can do the same. Give. Give humbly and gently and lovingly to others around you. That's our mission. And it's so good. It's not imposing, it's not controlling, it's not putting our stuff on other people by power. It's just saying, here is something good. Do you want to share in it too? So we're going to eat and we're going to drink together. I don't know, Sam, if you want to pluck a few sounds or something. I don't know. We'll sing a song in a minute.